and welcome to this edition of Find Yourself in the Future. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and in today's session, we're looking at how generative AI is reshaping entry-level cybersecurity job roles. To unpack this important topic, I'll be talking with two speakers. Giuseppe Cinque is a learning expert and principal architect at Cisco who's been doing research on the impacts of generative AI. We'll also be hearing from Matt Berndt, head of Indeed's Job Search Academy, who brings practical insights on what employers are truly looking for in job seekers. Both have valuable perspectives to share with us, so let's dive in. Hi, Giuseppe. Welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hello, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. To get us started, can you tell us a little bit about your role at Cisco and the research work you've been doing with the AI Consortium?
Absolutely. So I work in these organizations called Learn with Cisco, and includes Networking Academy and our organization for certification and training for professionals. So my role is a principal architect. It means that I work on what's coming next, on doing some research, understanding where the skills are going in terms of needs, and then working with the product strategy and product development so that we can address those needs of skills or different way for learning, so different learning experience. And as you mentioned, one of the work that we have just published is the work inside the AI Workforce Consortium. It is a consortium of 10 big companies, including Intel, IBM, Microsoft, Google, SAP, Indeed, many others, where they came together to respond to a specific question. How is AI going to change ICT job, and how we can help the ICT workforce be ready for this transition and to thrive in the AI intelligent world?
Mm-hmm. Excellent. No, thank you for that. And that's really what we're here and interested to learn from you today. So I'd love to ask you some questions about it and hear your insights. So this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which means today we want to look at the impacts specifically on the field of cybersecurity. So I was wondering if you can give us a brief overview of the current state of AI in cybersecurity and how is generative AI being used in this field?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's very interesting because AI has been used in cybersecurity for a long time, right? We know that AI is a 70 years old discipline, right? Started around this time 70 years ago with the proposal of doing a summer research project of 2 months, the famous Dartmouth project. And that was done in the summer of the 56. And they were very optimistic, right? In 2 months, they can solve the artificial intelligence problem. It took 70 years. So what has been changing recently is the emergence of a subset of AI is called generative AI. It essentially is using a very powerful approach for AI that is the deep learning approach. Mm-hmm. And the most maybe interesting things is that what is emerging in the last 12 months or less is the agentic AI. And agentic AI is the idea of an AI system that can take a goal, start by reasoning and planning, and then using tool and observe what is the effect of doing this task, and then adapt. So it becomes a little bit like a partner, right? So that we can kind of assign a goal or a task and works independently and then reports back. And then, of course, this opens up a lot of opportunity for doing automation in incident threat detection, triage, and response. So that's a fascinating area that is emerging.
That's a great overview. Thank you for that. And so it sounds like what I'm hearing is when we're kind of hearing about AI in the news, a lot of what people are probably referencing is more this generative AI and agentic AI as the newest types of AI that are coming.
Exactly. So this is the most powerful AI we have had up to now, right? And it's very versatile. right? So the big difference is that it's the concept of foundational model. So foundational model is a sophisticated pre-trained model that you can adapt for different use cases. So it makes the creation of AI system and application to use case much faster than before, where you had to develop a custom model for a specific problem. So that's where it has created this kind of Cambrian explosion, right, of application and use cases.
So Giuseppe, I'm seeing a lot in the news lately about the impact of AI on entry-level roles. So based on your research, what would you say is the most significant way that generative AI is currently impacting day-to-day tasks of those entry-level cybersecurity professionals?
Yes, last year explicitly we started doing a research on impact on ICT role using a predictive model. So what does it mean? We took job role and we described the job role in terms of the tasks that people do, and then the skills that support this task. And then we used an AI model and also subject matter expert to understand how much a specific task could be augmented or automated using AI. For example, if I have to write a report about an incident, AI can help me summarizing and a lot of different information, make it much clearer, much faster. If I have to detect, verify if an incident, if signals coming that could be part of an attack is a real attack or not, I may have AI helping me filtering the data and sense making of the data. But then you still want a human in the loop. You want a person to oversee. So in a summary, what we predicted and what we are observing is that AI is helping automating the routine day-by-day task and helping augmenting what are instead the more strategic approach to the work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think many early in career learners are worried about job displacement due to AI. And so it sounds like what I'm hearing is a little bit more of this augmenting rather than replacing, but how would you address their concerns? And what type of opportunities do you see emerging that maybe weren't as prevalent before generative AI started really getting more pervasive?
Yeah. Oh, this is a very important topic, and there is a lot of media and conversation online, not only for cybersecurity, for every job, specifically for entry-level job, and because there is some data of difficulty, right, of finding job. The point is that AI for sure is going to transform every job. So that's for sure. But is not going to replace the job, because there is a strong complementary of the type of intelligence, the type of expertise that a human can bring on the table, let's say, and what is that AI can bring on the table. So it is going to be a coexistence of human workforce and AI workforce, right? It seems strange talking about AI workforce, but the concept of agent, right? It will become familiar. It will become something. Oh yes, it's not like a self-driving car. Oh yeah, there is a self-driving car, and you can use it in some context, in some situation. And the same will be for AI. Every AI worker will be a manager also of AI agents, right? We'll use AI agent to better perform and scale the activity. And so this is important, and we are seeing already, right, increasingly employer asking for AI skills. So because the transformation is happening right now, one thing I would recommend is to embrace AI, start to develop AI skills and using it, right, to while learning and while working, of course, following responsible best practices, but really embracing it. because that's where you can develop that intuition and expertise that will help, while the technology mature, be ready to work side by side with AI.
So, of course, for someone who wants to pursue a career in cybersecurity, there are going to be foundational technical skills that they need to build around cybersecurity. But in addition to those traditional cybersecurity knowledge and skills, what would you say are some of those foundational technical skills that aspiring cybersecurity professionals should prioritize to effectively learn exactly what you just said? How do they start building those AI skills to be prepared for this, potentially near-term future of working right alongside AI?
Oh, definitely. There are a couple of them that were already relevant before kind of this acceleration of AI, right? That is the data and coding skills. And now they are even more relevant. Why? Because first of all, AI is based on data. So the quality of the data, the understanding of the data you are using, it's a paramount, right? Because otherwise you're using powerful tool with not so great data, you don't get great outcome. And coding, right? Coding is important because you can use it and also use it to create scripts that helps your work. But even more important because now you can use AI to augment your coding skills. So having that mindset of understanding what is a script, right? That computational thinking now is for everybody. And you can use AI to expand. You don't need to be an expert, right? So data and coding plus AI as a tool give you an incredible toolkit of things, or toolbox, right? Of things you can use in every job.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it comes, okay, to use AI, you need to understand how to steer AI system, right? The concept of prompt engineering or context engineering is the whole idea of how can I provide the right contextual information to the AI system so that the prediction that the AI system does, the inference that does, is optimal for the task I want to do. Right, so that kind of prompt engineering and foundational AI. Of course, behind that is what I could call general AI or generative AI literacy. You want to understand, you don't want to consider AI just a magic box, right? You want to understand what are the principles and therefore what are the limitations, what are the errors. So when you work with that, you understand, is doing this maybe because it's out of context or has lost, you have an intuition of when things are going well and right. So these are the basic four, right? The data, coding, AI, and machine learning literacy. And then if you want to go a little bit ahead and be prepared, all these agentic technologies, right? So how you for example, use technology like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, to provide external data to your AI system, or new protocol that have emerged in the last 12 months, like the MCP, the Model Context Protocol, that allows your AI to talk with other source of data or tools, right? Or agent-to-agent protocols. So all these agentic AI environment domain, it will brings you even further, right? Further ahead in terms of technical skills.
Mm-hmm. That is such a helpful overview. And it almost sounds, tell me if this is accurate, Giuseppe. It sounds kind of like you're saying there might be some roles or maybe some people who would be more focused towards prompt engineering, but then there may be others who really want to get into maybe helping to train a model or get really into more the technical details of the building of those AI models, et cetera. So it sounds like maybe there can be almost like a spectrum of how much you might be involved in using AI. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, absolutely. Another, one way to say what you say in a different way is there is at least three levels of interaction with AI. So the first level is what we mentioned at the beginning, right? You you use AI, but you don't even know that you're using AI, right? So it's behind the scene. Another way to use AI is you have a graphical user interface like a chatbot. So you're using consciously, you're using AI, and you want to understand how to prompt, but you are like a user. You don't get into the technical details. And then there is another level is where you go what we call at the API level, application programming interface, right? Where you are using the AI not as with a graphical user interface, but you are using code and you are orchestrating the way AI interact with other parts, or you are using, it's more like a Lego block, right? You are integrating different Lego blocks to obtain your results. And then last is what you mentioned, right? There is a possibility to go even further and you work to specialize an AI model, what is called sometimes fine tuning. So you take what we call the foundational model, but you specialize this foundational model for specific, for example, cybersecurity use case. This is, for example, what Cisco has done, has published on Hugging Face, a specialized model for cybersecurity that is available to download.
I was curious, given those different kind of levels of engaging with AI, what might that look like in the field of cybersecurity for cybersecurity professionals who are engaging in this way?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in the this year report, we analyzed what skills the employer are looking in terms of AI skills for different job families, and one of which is also cybersecurity. And then we have analyzed the different skills in terms of different roles and seniority. So, for example, all the data skills and prompt engineering skills are very relevant for entry-level jobs. Right? So those are the focus is on using AI. Then when it comes to the mid-career, then where it gets more in-depth technical, like building agentic AI systems and automating, orchestrating workflow. And then for the senior, instead, it starts to be extremely important, all the aspect of governance and strategy and ethic behavior, right? So that's, so it doesn't, it doesn't mean that an entry-level job, an entry-level person shouldn't be aware of the importance of governance and strategy. It's just that their focus is in a different place, right? So so everybody should have all the kind of the spectrum of skills, but the focus is different from different level of seniority, let's say.
Got it. Okay. No, thank you for explaining that. So the next thing I wanted to ask you about is navigating kind of essentially the two sides of the coin with AI. So let me tell you what I mean by that. It seems to me that generative AI is a really powerful tool for cybersecurity defenders.
Mhm.
But on the other side, it can also empower attackers. So I was curious, especially as we're speaking to early in career professionals, how could they prepare to face AI-driven threats? And what role do you think these early in career colleagues will play in this evolving threat landscape as it becomes more, mature and evolved over time?
Yeah, definitely. As it was, we were saying, right? This an AI can be seen as a way to expand your capability. So we had this historically, right? A long time ago, the hackers were really knowledgeable people from technical point of view, but in time, some of them became. There was this concept of script kiddie, right? People who were downloading tools and script and just using to do attack. And now with a non-filtered model, right? Everybody can query an AI to get some recipe for doing attack. So the good things is that the most powerful system, that the state of the art, the frontier model, they have guardrail, they have filter to avoid giving this type of information. Right? But there are models that can be found from the open source community, or you can, sometimes there is a way to jailbreak, right? To to get this, avoid this guardrail and get this information. So it means that that's one of the main risks of AI, right? To provide information and expertise for threat actor to do bad things, right? In cybersecurity, but also in other fields. And so this is, how can you prepare? You can prepare, as mentioned before, as for defending, embracing the technology. So, and getting that intuition, understanding what can be done so that you have that mindset, like the ethical hacker, right? That can reason like an attacker and therefore can prepare and defend the systems. So it goes back to be skillful, curious, and having this continuous learning and continuous update. It has been, I mean, for cybersecurity, you have to learn continuously. And then with AI, you have to learn continuously. And if you merge the two, you have to learn continuously at the square, right, of the speed, right? So that's the beauty and at the same time the challenge, right? How you keep yourself updated and keep that curiosity, right, so that you can learn.
Yeah, that lifelong learning is so important. And I feel like actually I've been hearing a lot about continuing to upskill throughout a career, right? It's not just you learn and then you're done. Like we all need to continue to learn. So I think that's such great recommendation, Giuseppe. And I was curious, again, speaking to our early in career listeners, for someone who is just starting their cybersecurity education, or maybe they're just starting to look for their first job, what practical steps or maybe learning pathways might you recommend that they can start to integrate this AI literacy into their career development?
Yeah, I mean, the first things is the technical skills, right? The technical skills we mentioned before: coding, data, AI, prompt engineering as a foundational minimum, non-negotiable things. Then you can get to the agentic part to have a more leverage. But we shouldn't forget about kind of the professional transferable skills, right? So, for example, more and more AI requires attention to details and critical thinking. So you never have to take an AI output at face value, right? Because of because generative AI is based on non-deterministic system. They are stochastic. So that's their power. They are using, let's say, probability to predict the next best token or word, and so that's how they interpret what we are saying. And therefore, they're not. They can respond differently to the same query, and they can make mistake, right? We know all the concept of hallucination, right? So the only way to work efficiently with AI is to always have this sense of skepticism of what is the output and verifying, and not just taking as a face value and implement. So, and that's a mindset and also a skill you have to develop, right? This attention to detail, this critical thinking and strategy to verify. How can I verify what I've got as a result, right? It's more like a little bit like a scientific mindset, even more, right? You need to be a little bit like a scientist, always challenging and inquiring, right, what you see. So this is another very important element. How you develop that? We believe, right, in hands-on learning. More and more also it's important to develop projects, right? If you can show example of way you've used AI to solve cybersecurity problem, to automate something and showcase, this will give you not only this develop the skills, but also will showcase, right, your capacity to learn fast in this new domain and to apply, right, what you have learned to specific use cases.
Those are really great insights, Giuseppe. Yes, absolutely, to the thinking critically. Now, if you were to look 5 or 10 years down the line, How do you envision the collaboration between cybersecurity professionals, the humans, right, and these AI systems? How do you envision that evolving, particularly for those in their early and mid-careers?
It is very hard, right? It is very hard because in 5 years we will have, based on the current trend of AI, also based on, from two sides, let's say based on the current trend of AI, we will have very powerful system in AI if things continues with the speed that are going, right? Just to give you one number, if you want to measure one way to measure the capability of an agent is the length of a task that this agent can do. So for example, a chatbot, the length of the task is respond to my question, right? So it's what is few seconds, right? I ask a question, get this answer. Something different is if I ask my chatbot to do a data analysis, right? And that would require more time, or create something, an application, right? It may take 1 hour or 15 minutes right now, but we can. So right now, there is a measure that says that the agent can arrive to 2 hours of work with 50% of positive results. It's a pretty low threshold, but it's kind of a consistent measure, right? So 2 hours. And they have measured what was the length 7 months ago was 1 hour. 7 months before was half an hour. So the length of the task is doubling every 7 months. Every 7 months, agent can do tasks that takes twice the time. And this is the time is a way to measure the complexity of what you can ask the agent to do. So you can imagine that in 5 years, there will be many 7 months. So the length of, you can give an agent a task, do it, and it can work for a few days before coming back. So it's a very complex task. So the agent will be very sophisticated. The cybersecurity landscape will be pretty sophisticated for different reasons, right? For the trends and also because of the impact of the AI. So it's very difficult to have a clear picture, but we may kind of think about some principles. So one principle is, as I mentioned before, we should think that AI will help in the work. So everybody will be an agent manager. Many of us will be agent, let's say, customizer or builder, right? We will specialize agent, we will customize, we will instruct, teach, and verify the agent work. So that's definitely one aspect. The second aspect is if the agent will bring these capabilities of doing stuff, our role will be more on the strategic, more on the business, right? Everybody will get closer to the business. For me, this is a kind of a way to say we need to be able to talk to higher manager, right? Moving more from the task to the strategic outcome. And so that's another important element. And I think the third one that is, I think, very attractive is the emergence of the specific, for example, AI security and governance role. So for a moment, if you think about, if there is one job we want to make sure that we control 100% is the security and the safety of the AI system. So we can predict, and we already observed in the report, we observed that the growth of AI governance and security is growing triple digits, right? So those jobs of AI threat hunting, AI security engineer, AI governance and ethics specialists are becoming extremely relevant. So for a lot of our students, right, they will become their career path. And so that's a very interesting opportunity, specifically in the nexus of AI and cybersecurity.
Yeah, so you're saying it's even potentially opening up some new career path avenues that we might not actually even really quite know yet.
Absolutely. It has been always like that, right? 60% of the job of the US economy today didn't exist at the time of World War II, right? So it's, or think about if we could, 5 years ago talking about, maybe 10 years ago talking about the job of a influencer, social media influencer, you would even struggle to explain what is this job, right? And now is one of the attractive jobs, especially for young people. And last but not least, I think it's important to mention that this technology, this is, I mean, the last 10 years, last 20 years with the cloud, with social media, have provided scaffolding opportunity for entrepreneur. Right? If you have a great idea with cloud, you can build it without having infrastructure. You can market on the social media. So they are kind of a superpower for entrepreneur. AI is the ultimate superpower for entrepreneur. So this is and all, we can see that, right? We can see that in the speed of the AI startup. The AI startup are growing at the speed that are 10 times bigger than previous startup. So another important things in the area of cybersecurity and other areas is this opportunity for entrepreneur to build something. So for students to become entrepreneur and build something. So another inspiration, I think, don't think about don't just have the fear about your job, but think about the opportunity. And the opportunity is not only doing a different type of jobs with AI, but also create new product, new services using AI in the field of cybersecurity. I think that's probably one of the biggest opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're really expanding my, thinking, Giuseppe. And for my last question, I mean, we've talked a lot about the importance of learning and continuous learning. Now I'm curious, given all of that, what advice would you give to universities and training programs on how to adapt their curriculum in this landscape? How do they adapt their curriculum to prepare the next generation of cybersecurity talent in this future AI first world like you're describing?
Yeah, I mean, teachers are doing a fantastic job already, and it's only about accelerating these things, right? In the sense that everybody should, we mentioned, we should embrace AI literacy as a core skill, right? It's not about digital skill anymore. It's digital skill as a foundation, but AI literacy, it's definitely a core skills. Different teachers have different historically have had different resistance about using AI in the classroom, but now everybody is more open to use an AI in the classroom. Of course, it needs to be done responsibly, right? We want to use, but it's a matter of fact. Students will use AI in the workplace, so they need to start using in the classroom in the right way. No, not we are moving away from the concept of AI is cheating, right? So AI should be part of the tool. It's important to do pedagogically in a good way to not become cognitive lazy, right? Not to delegate, and there is another risk, right? You start not to think anymore and always delegate to AI. But we could definitely can solve this, right? You can use AI with intention, right? And so one thing that it's important is, for example, change the way we assess students to move away from cheating AI versus AI as good things to use. And maybe one way is to provide a spectrum of assessment. There will be some assignment that clearly we as a teacher, we say, this is an assignment with zero AI. You have to do it without AI for specific outcome reason that I want to drive. Other assignment that you can use AI for brainstorming or planning. Other that you can use full AI to the point where we may even ask you have to use AI in a way that it's not trivial. You have to invent the way to use AI for solving that problem. So that we put people in the condition they will face when they go to the workforce, because they will be part of the work that people will know how to use AI for doing it, and others, they have to invent or find a way to use AI. So the change of assessment is it's very important. Another thing that I just want to remind is, because of the importance of responsible AI, ethics, bring more multidisciplinary approach in the classroom. Bring make sure that students develop not only understanding how to do tasks with AI, but the implication from the privacy, from the legal, from the responsible effect of developing an AI system. So that's no one can stay as a technologist without opening up to the horizon of the kind of externality you can produce with AI. And yeah, I think those are kind of things. And the last one, it's connected, we mentioned already, is lifelong learning. So even our institution need to understand how we can prepare students for job, and then helping them evolve while they are in the job. So providing as maybe exposure to the job as soon as possible with the apprenticeship, and then having program for constantly upskilling, because we are moving in a way, in an era, in times where there is no such anymore the things that you study for a part of your life and then you work and then you retire, right? You will be studying and working, hopefully, since the beginning till the end. So that's the continuous learning, lifelong learning. I think it's a muscle that we will continue to develop and accelerate.
Well, I must say, I feel like I've learned a lot today. So thank you again, Giuseppe, for these fantastic insights. Thank you for being here with us today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Beth. Thank you so much.
Next, we'll hear from Matt Berndt, who's the head of Indeed's Job Search Academy. Hi, Matt. Thank you for joining us today.
Beth, it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to get us started. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your role at Indeed and kind of share with us what you're doing in the job role space.
You bet. It's a pretty unique role. I'm Indeed's head career coach at the Job Search Academy. I've been a career coach for about 30 years, working in university career centers and other parts of the business before coming to Indeed just under 10 years ago, and currently leading the Job Search Academy. My job and my team's job is to help job search make sense to job seekers. That is, connecting them with all of the resources that go along with the jobs that are on Indeed so they can be as successful as possible. So I'm Indeed's career coach.
Amazing. Well, we're excited to hear from you and learn from your insights today. So I thought to get us started, Indeed is a huge platform. It's the #1 job site in the world, which means you have a lot of job seekers and you also have a lot of employers using the site. So from the vast data that your platform collects, what are most surprising or significant shifts that you're observing since the widespread adoption of generative AI?
It's hard to look at any specific thing in isolation. So why most of my responses begin with, it depends, because at the same time, there has been this explosion of generative AI. There have been other economic factors going on as well that are pulling back on some of the demand for software engineers and folks with the technical skills that are kind of running counter to AI. So it's been quite dynamic. The percentage of jobs in the US, and I'm looking at the US, though we could look at this thing globally as well, but focusing in the US, the percentage of jobs that have references to generative AI and AI in them is on the uptick, and it's been on a pretty consistent uptick, around 2 or 3%. If you want the specific data, you can go to our hiring lab and see the specific data. We've got a great tracker that's looking at this in near real time, but it's ticking up at a consistent pace. That doesn't mean it's taking over all of the jobs that are out there in terms of job opportunities, but it is growing, and it's a growing area of the workforce.
So drawing from Indeed's insights into hiring trends, have you seen any shifts in demand in entry-level tech roles since the rise of generative AI?
I would say that there has been a little constraining factor on some of the entry-level roles, just because we're in a really kind of a changing world right now. It's not necessarily shooting up. It's not necessarily shooting down. It's trying to figure itself out.
Yeah.
but there's still a real consistent need. The kicker is making sure that you're leading, putting your best foot forward by highlighting and focusing on those skills that are needed and that you possess. Because an employer doesn't inherently understand you unless you make yourself understandable to them in terms that are relevant to them. So in this instance, if they're hiring for specific generative AI skills, make sure that's what you are leading with in your applications, in your profiles, in your resumes.
Yes, makes sense. And that makes me curious, as you talk about how these entry-level roles are evolving, maybe we'd say, are there new or AI augmented job titles that are emerging? Like, are you seeing it in the job titles? Are you seeing it in the job descriptions, or maybe the skills and requirements that are being requested by employers that are hiring?
I so wish employers wrote better job descriptions than many of them do. And it's, from a hiring manager standpoint, it's not their fault, because human resources can often put great constraints on the way a job description is constructed. But here are some of the best practices that I think many employers are practicing that job seekers just need to know about. Those folks who are really putting skills first in their hiring are placing those early in the job description. They are sharing the specific skills that are needed for a job, and then they're sharing the problems that they're trying to solve. So these are the skills we're looking for, and these are the solutions that we're trying to help you create. Now, you're more often going to find those skills than you are those solutions. So as a job seeker, you're going to have to do some research of your own to understand the companies, because lots of different companies are looking for candidates with AI skills, not just tech companies. It's funny when you think of a company like, say, a Bank One. On the surface, you think, well, they're a financial company, right? They're a bank. Well, no, they're kind of a tech company in the financial services world. And you could say that about a lot of different industries. So it's coupling the technical skills that you want to use with industries that you're interested in, so that you can use those Gen AI skills that you have to solve problems that you're interested in solving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's connecting those tech skills.
Yeah, and those sound like some really specific skills, especially as people get farther in their career. I'm curious, how might that relate to at the entry level? You mentioned Python, so having some maybe coding skills, maybe some skills working with data. Do you have any insights, maybe specifically for our entry level candidates?
Absolutely. You're developing these skills when you're early in your career. You may just have started working on them, maybe through class projects that you've completed, through a boot camp or through a university program that you're completing. The most important thing you need to be able to do is talk about your ability to utilize that skill. If you're entry level, they're not expecting you to have the skills of someone who's been working in a software or on a platform for 4 or 5 years, but they are expecting you to be able to talk about what you can do. Simply telling someone that you have a skill is offering an opinion. Giving them an example of how you utilized that skill to some productive end, even if that productive end is completing a class project or something of similar, doing something in an internship, is giving them evidence. There's a neat tool that job seekers are coached to use, and frankly, recruiters are coached to use in asking questions. It's a behavioral response. Now, what that means on the recruiter side is, let's coach a recruiter to ask questions that require an example-based answer. Can you give me an example of the time that you have done this? So we're coaching job seekers to provide behavioral responses. And a behavioral response has 4 components. It's called a STAR statement. STAR is situation, T is task, A is action, and R is result. So when you're sharing a skill that you possess, talk about a situation within which you used that skill. Maybe it was a class project. Then follow on with the task that you had to complete in that situation and the actions that you took and the ultimate results of your actions. That's giving a STAR statement or an example-based answer. When you can do that, first, you've got a resume and if you have one and you needed one, a cover letter that is showing that you have those skills. And then in your interviews, you're giving hard, tangible examples of how you've utilized those skills. You're proving to a potential employer what you can offer to them at this stage in your career, which is different from what someone is going to be looking for from an advanced level candidate or a more senior level candidate. Now, in addition to that, everyone can come across as professionally as they possibly can. So show up ready to have that conversation. Show up if you're doing a video interview, for example. Know what you look like on screen. Know how your screen is framed. What else happens to be in your screen? If you're showing up in person, dress to the environment. Get a good night's rest. Be ready to put your best foot forward digitally or in person and to tell your story so that a potential employer can really understand who you are and what you're bringing to their organization.
Yes, these are great tips. And it sounds like what I'm hearing you say, Matt, is to get specific. That don't just say I use AI, but like how have you used it? What was the outcome of it? Like I think that's really great advice to learners to really get specific with how they've implemented and used things in the past.
I couldn't agree more. I mentioned a moment or two ago about how the best job descriptions talk not only about the skills, but the problems that they want someone to help them solve, or the solutions that they're looking to discover. Think of it that way. What problem did you solve? What challenge did you overcome using that skill? And it doesn't have to be a huge problem or a huge challenge. It's how did you use it to a meaningful end to solve a problem, and a problem that you were interested in solving. I don't know that I've met a tech professional yet that doesn't have their own personal side hustles going on, problems that they are trying to solve themselves. And that's one of the reasons why they're developing the skills that they're developing. It could even be a side project that you have, something that you're personally trying to solve. It's showing that you know how to apply those skills and giving specific examples of how you've done that and how you can do that.
That's great advice. And so we've talked about the technical skills. I'm curious to touch a little bit also on the professional skills, or maybe, some people call them soft skills. So what would you say are some of the professional skills that are critical for early in career cybersecurity professionals or others that are kind of in the entry level portion of their career? How can they start kind of demonstrating they also have the professional skills, and how can they demonstrate that to employers as they're job seeking?
You bet. I'm going to start with your social media presence. If you're working in a technology field, regardless of how active you may or may not be on social media, most employers are cross-checking across different platforms to try and get an understanding of who they might be bringing into their organization, particularly if you may need to clear a security clearance of some kind. When it comes to social media, my general rule of thumb is if you wouldn't be comfortable with your grandmother seeing it online, should you be posting it in the first place? Because people are going to try and assess you as a candidate, and social media is one place that they will assess you. So you look at the more public social media. Think about the way that you are showing up and presenting yourself at any professional conferences that you go to. You can still do that as a student or as an entry-level professional so that you can become a part of the human network of professionals that you work with. That could be really easy for someone who defines themselves as an extrovert and draws oxygen from environments like that. That's a lot harder for someone who is more introverted, for whom that's a really draining experience. So you want to be cautious just to understand how you are showing up so that you can show up and, again, put your best possible foot forward. Another way that you can show professionalism is to do your homework and to do your research on the companies in the industries that you want to be a part of. If you're targeting a specific company, you really lose credibility if that company or that recruiter asks you, tell me why you want to work for us, and you don't have a good answer. Or asks you why you want to work in the field, or what excites you about current developments in the field, and you're not ready to answer that question. So studying the companies that you want to work for so that you understand them and you can see how these companies align with who you are and how you want to impact the world of work. Understanding the industry that you want to be a part of and trends that are happening in that industry, so that if you're in a professional conversation with peers, you can offer an opinion that's based upon knowledge and your attention to the industry. Then, there's the basic stuff. Show up rested, show up clean cut. That doesn't necessarily mean a suit. In some industries, it does. Dressing for the environment shows you're paying attention to the worlds that you're getting into. Being simply respectful of folks. Making eye contact. Again, that's going to be easier for some people and more difficult for others, just based upon who you are. But understanding that those can be dynamics and elements in the way that you are assessed in the workplace. A good firm handshake when you're meeting someone. Having your questions prepared in an interview. Questions that you want to be prepared to answer, as well as the questions that you want to be prepared to ask. And there's one instance where I see people stumble often in professionalism, and it's in the interview. You may come across a job interview where partway into that interview, you've decided, you know what, this isn't the right company for me, or this may not be the right job for me. If you've reached that in a job interview, don't bail. Don't just give up and give shorthand answers and disrespect the rest of the process. Answer the questions briefly, thank them for their time, shake their hand, and when you're done, send a note of some kind or reach out to the recruiter saying that you're going to withdraw from the process, and give a couple of reasons, because they're going to want to know. You never know when you're going to run into that recruiter again, perhaps at a different company. So you always want to make sure you're handling those situations professionally.
That's a great point. Yes, especially because you never know, who you might connect with later on. That's such a great point, that you're always kind of showing that, your personal brand essentially, and how you want to show up in the industry.
Beth, I have a real life example of this. Back in my early days, I interviewed a woman to join my team, and she was very, very sharp. But I also had an internal candidate who was very good and had that knowledge. And while I did not hire her, I was really impressed with her, and I referred her to other departments while I was working for a university at that point in time. I kid you not, 10 years later, I was asked to be a part of an interview panel for candidates for a job that was being filled in a department adjacent to mine. And this same woman walks into my office 10 years later. She already had won the interview, because it wasn't how do I get to know you? It was, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you again. Do you recall that visit that we had? What have you been doing? She so positively impressed me that she started that interview off on the best foot possible and got a great referral from me for that job listing that she ended up getting. So it can go both ways. The better you impress, the better that can help you down the road. The less you impress, the more that can hurt you down the road.
That's such a great an example. And I think you're really speaking to, right, don't have just the short-term view, but this is like a long-term view throughout your career.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. No, I think you've been giving us some really great advice. I'm curious now, asking a little bit more on the advice piece. Do you have any specific tips for job seekers on how they can maybe even leverage AI tools during the job search process, and how they can help their profiles, their resumes kind of stand out in, this large pool of candidates that are out there in the market today?
Oh my gosh, the volume of tools that are out there that can help you in your job search it's almost gotten overwhelming in and of itself. But there are a few things that I can recommend. Now, I'm coming from Indeed, so I do have to share that we're right in there with you as well. We recently launched a new tool called Career Scout, and it's an AI-driven personal career coach for all job seekers using Indeed. If you just look at the bottom, it's available on your mobile app, on your mobile phone, Android, and as well as iOS. You'll see the little logo in the bottom center of the screen, and it turns job search into a conversation. It's a coach, so it's asking you what it is that you're looking to do. Maybe you're thinking to make a career change. Maybe you want to see where your skills fit in one industry versus another industry. Maybe you're trying to get to prioritize your skills. Maybe you want to do a mock interview. All of these are elements of Career Scout that help you navigate all of the rich resources that are on Indeed that can help you figure out where you go next. In addition to that, we've got tools for helping you craft and tighten up your profile and the bullets that are a part of your resume, those star statements that need to show up in your resume, that will do an automated scan of the resume that you've uploaded, looking for gaps in content, looking for ATS friendliness. That's stuff that we're doing for you at Indeed with Career Scout. But if you just generally go out and look at the tools that are out there, from a chat GPT to, well, the myriad tools that are out there that can be helpful to you, the word of caution that I have, and I say this all the time, is these tools that you can use to help craft or recraft a cover letter or a resume offer you a great, probably the very best first draft you're ever going to get. But you can't just send that draft in. You have to take that, reality test it, make sure that it is reflective of you, and in many instances actually personalize the information to you, because it's drawing from a lot of information that is out there on the internet that's similar to the question that you asked, try and help answer your question. So use that as a great first draft, but then tighten it up and send it in from there. There are tools that you can use to help you do research on companies, to learn what interview questions that you might ask, to learn what interview questions you might expect. Use all of these things to your advantage. Don't be overwhelmed by them. And Career Scout is a great tool for helping you get started in that process.
Those are such great insights. Like, I hadn't even thought about some of the things that you shared, and especially your point about the first draft. I mean, even coming from where I said in a role in industry, same thing on the employer side. We are using AI, but we also have that sense of, you have to have the skills to think critically too. Whether you're job searching or whether once you're in the role, those skills are going to continue forward even as you are in a role and using it on the employer side. Do you have any actionable advice for someone who's early in their career, whether in cybersecurity or anyone pursuing a technical role, who might feel overwhelmed by the pace of AI integration and unsure how to position themselves for future success? Like, how would you speak to those that maybe are feeling a little overwhelmed in this landscape?
Yeah, there's a great old proverb, and I'm going to mix it up, I'm sure, a little bit, but it says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You have to approach the job search one bite at a time. And the way I describe that when it comes to a job search is 1 week at a time. This can be overwhelming when you don't have a job and you want one, and the only measuring stick you have is, I have a job or I don't. That's kind of a lonely, confusing journey to get there, and you don't see the progress that you're making along the way. So I recommend to every job seeker, technology job seeker, cybersecurity, AI, or what have you, is to plan your week out or your weeks on a weekly basis. Decide on Monday, what is it that I want to accomplish this week? Actually, I have to back that up one step. You have to first decide how much time in the week are you able to commit to your job search? Because you need to know that before you can set expectations for yourself. Now, if you don't have a job right now, your job search is your 40-hour-a-week job, unless maybe you have family responsibilities that are taking some time out of that. But whatever amount of time you have to commit, let's say it's 10 hours a week, then it's, how do I use those 10 hours? Maybe I spend a couple of hours researching jobs and making sure that I apply to jobs. Maybe I'm going to spend some of that time doing that research onto companies and into roles and into the industry itself. Maybe I'm going to spend some of that time attending events online or in person, or connecting one-on-one with professionals in my field. Whatever it is that you do, break that 10 hours up so that you can then set goals for each of those 10 hours. And maybe you say, by the end of this week, I want to have accomplished these 5 things. Because at the end of the week, you want to look yourself in that same mirror and say, did I accomplish those 5 things? And if you did, celebrate it, because you've made progress and now you can set goals for the following week. Now, a couple of things can happen. You can set those goals and you can achieve those goals and you can feel good about achieving those goals and you can move on and set goals for the next week. Or maybe you dig into 1 or 2 of those goals and they just explode and turn into something great. but you didn't do the other 3 goals. Pat yourself on the back for completing those 2 things and seeing how well they went. Move those next 3 goals to the following week and continue. You might also find that there was whatever the new streaming show got out, and you got distracted and you didn't get any of those things done. You know what? It's just a week. Give yourself a swift kick in the butt. Say, you know what? Let's not have that happen again. Set goals for the next week and move on. See, you never want to get yourself too down, and you always want to give yourself credit for the progress that you're making, because then you can see the progress that you're making. And it makes the whole thing a lot less overwhelming and a lot more rewarding when you're just looking at what I can do this week and then building upon that week after week after week.
That's great. Yeah, breaking it down. And that sounds even like good project management skills that you could put on your resume by practicing that.
I think so. Yeah.
But one of the things you mentioned too, Matt, was around sometimes it can feel lonely to be in this job search process. And you had talked earlier about some of the ways to get familiar with industries, get familiar with maybe communities of people who are working in those industries. And so that was something that kind of came to mind as you were sharing too, around, are there places and ways to find where are the people gathering? And yes, maybe you can attend an in-person event, but there's also a lot of spaces online. One that comes to mind is we at Cisco have a Cisco Learning Network, which has community forums and people sharing about what they're learning, sharing study resources, learning about how to get prepared for certifications. And so it kind of brings to my mind if there are also ways to make it feel less lonely by finding places to connect with people who have some similar interests. And that might also help the job search process too.
What a fabulous example that you just gave there about this learning community. Here's the thing. When folks are, I know it's a dirty word to many people, but networking, I hate using that word. Instead, I use relationship building, because that's really what you're trying to do. When you connect with someone who is either in your field or a field that you want to be in, and the conversation is about your mutual interest in a topic and not about the fact that you're looking for a job, you've got a chance to develop a friend and a colleague, maybe even a mentor, and you've got a chance to become a friend and a colleague and maybe a mentor to someone else who's going through something similar to you. It's this mutual benefit, mutual support that comes from that. And then if you are actually networking with someone to try and get a job, don't lead with that question. They know that's why you're there. Got any jobs? They don't know you well enough to know whether or not they're going to share that information with you. Begin that conversation around the topics that you have, of which you have a shared interest. Talk about whatever it is, cybersecurity, whatever trend you are thinking about, a skill that you're looking to develop. Seek their advice on that. Give them a chance to get to know you and for you to get to know them before you ask anybody for help. Because in all honesty, you may not want help from some people that you reach out to. You may find out that's not someone who you want on your side. And so don't ask for that help, but be thankful for the information that you got. But you want to give someone who's got a chance to be a real good champion for you a reason to want to be your champion, because then they'll go to bat for you. And remember, that's a two-way street. You go to bat for them as well. So when you run into an opportunity that might not be ideal for you, but might be great for my friend Mary. Mary might run into an opportunity that's not great for her, but could be really, really good for you as well. That relationship building is great. And these kind of learning communities are one of the greatest places to start, particularly for folks who lean towards the more introverted side, because you've got more control over the experience. So there are times when we have to make ourselves uncomfortable. It's just natural because we can't always stay in our comfort zone, but we don't have to throw ourselves into that world wholly and completely. We've got to give ourselves grace.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, so Indeed and Cisco Networking Academy have partnered up to help learners find jobs. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So Indeed has built a curated job board, especially for NetAcad students and alumni, to find jobs in relevant areas like cybersecurity, networking, and IT. The job board's free. It features roles that are aligned to those skills and certifications that NetAcad prepares learners for. And I wanted to ask you to share a little bit about how they can get started on these curated job board platforms on Indeed.
It's really, really easy. In fact, I know that in the notes, there will be the link to this specific board, so you can go and find that board if you haven't found it already. What we've done with this board is we've tried to take this massive world of work. Beth, you were right when you said we're the world's largest job board, which can make job search feel like the 800-pound gorilla a little bit. It doesn't need to be. What we've done is we've created this job board, and we've curated specific jobs around cybersecurity, networking, AI and data science, programming, information technology, and put them in one place so that they're really, really easy to find. So you don't have to go through all of the extra noise. You can go directly here to find it. Now, here's what is key to success in utilizing this. Indeed's not just a job board, we're a job search platform and matching platform. We're a search engine and a matching platform. And in order for that to work, we've got to have stuff to match it to. So managing your profile on Indeed, going in and making sure that you are listing the skills that you possess, that you're giving examples of those skills in your profile, in the resume part of your profile, that you're using those terms as well when you're filtering on jobs. The more we know about you, and the more we know about your search preferences and your search behavior, the better job we can do of matching you to those opportunities. A lot of people don't know this, but everyone's search results on Indeed and their matching results are unique to them. We don't just put up the jobs that employers want us to put up, regardless of what a job seeker wants. Every job seeker gets a curated feed and curated matches that are based upon the information in their profile and their search behavior. When they are searching, what terms are they using, and what are they clicking on, and what are they not clicking on? If we're showing you stuff and you're ignoring it, that's a cue to us to show you less of that kind of stuff. If we're showing you stuff and you're clicking on it and then immediately clicking away, that's another signal to not show you that kind of stuff. But when you're clicking on stuff and deeply engaging with it, that's telling us we're onto something, and these might very well be the jobs. And when you're applying, bingo, we found the kind of jobs you're interested in. So we're constantly looking at all of this stuff about you to try and deliver to you the best recommendations, invitations to apply, and matches to your searches as we possibly can. So search absolutely using this wonderful curated job board, but also make sure that you are always putting your best foot forward by making sure your profile is always up to date with the most current and most relevant examples of your skills and your experience.
That is really helpful to understand kind of how you help personalize that experience. And now we talked a little bit about the job searching and getting those matches, but I also wanted to hear a little bit about the Indeed Job Search Academy, because I think that's also additional services that might be available to learners. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what that is.
Oh, thank you so much for asking, because this is my passion as a long time career coach. We are Indeed is a technology-based solution. From the search engine to the matching tools to the job board that we have together to our Career Scout AI tool to help make sense of all of the information that is out there. But sometimes you really want to talk to a person and you want some human advice. And what we do through the Job Search Academy is we bring all of Indeed's resources together and put them in one place and then wrap them in live and on-demand job seeker educational programs that everyone can participate in. So first, when I say everything from Indeed all in one place, on our landing page and on the different landing pages that we have, you have all of the jobs that are on Indeed, all of the company information, including reviews and the work well-being scores about companies and company-specific job and salary information. You've got our salary database, which allows you to research job salary by job title and by location and compare locations. all of Indeed's different products and services, like Career Scout and all of the tools that are a part of Career Scout, like Career Services from Indeed and our instant resume review tool, and our profile enhancement tools, to our career guide, which is a library of more than 10,000 articles that can help with job search, career exploration, and interview and job search preparation, and our YouTube channel, which has more than 5,000 short form videos that deal with career exploration, job search, all of these things we put in one place. And then we wrap them, as I said, in education. We have 5 on-demand courses that can give everyone the fundamentals of job search, resume and profile preparation, interview preparation, job offer evaluation and negotiation, and lifelong career management. These are the fundamental skills we all need to nurture over the course of our lifetimes, because we're going to have job searches more often than once. If you think about it, according to the Department of Labor, the average worker in the US during their prime work years are going to have more than 12 jobs. Change is constant, so we always have to be prepared. I like to say we want to be prepared to always be prepared to seize on opportunity and respond to adversity.
If you're interested in cybersecurity and AI, Cisco Networking Academy can help you build your skills. I highly recommend our Introduction to Modern AI course. It's engaging, it's fun, and it's available for free as a self-paced course on netacad.com. It's only about 6 hours long, and it's a really great place to get started with AI. If you're interested in cybersecurity as a career, check out our Junior Cybersecurity Analyst career path. You don't need any prior knowledge. The learning pathway will get you started, and it'll walk you through a series of courses to build your skills. By the end, you'll be ready to sit for the CCST cybersecurity certification and have the knowledge expected for entry-level job roles. And of course, that's just the start. We have more AI and cybersecurity learning content available on netacad.com. Hop over and check it out. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.